Hey guys, Blockbuster Recaps here. Today, I am going to explain a 2010 sci-fi film called Inception. Warning, spoilers ahead, watch out, and enjoy. The movie begins with a dazed man waking up on a beach where he sees two children making a sandcastle. He is then approached by a guard who captures him and carries him into the room to speak with an old man. The man was only carrying two things, but the old man recognized the object as something that belonged to a man that he had met many years ago. The scene cuts and we meet Cobb and Arthur, who are meeting with Mr. Saito, to tell him that they are extractors who steal information from people's minds by sharing dreams with them. They would like to train Saito to defend himself against these kinds of attacks. Mr. Saito is unimpressed with their pitch, and leaves the room. However, Cobb and Arthur are actually in Saito's dream and are trying to steal information from Saito's mind. Cobb then sneaks into the mansion, killing the guards, and steals the information in the safe but Maul rats him out and Arthur is taken hostage. Cobb shoots Arthur who wakes up from the dream, which causes the dreamscape to collapse. Before it can collapse, Cobb escapes and reads the information, right before he gets dunked into water to wake him up. After they wake up, Saito tries to retaliate but is stopped by the group. After tying him back up, they begin interrogating him for the last piece of information. Cobb throws Saito onto the carpet in order to threaten him, but Saito realizes the carpet he is on isn't real and that he is still dreaming. Saito is impressed that Cobb is capable of layering a dream within a dream. The room is then rushed by the mob from outside and the rest of the group wakes up and dip before Saito can wake up. After failing the mission, Cobb and Arthur plan to leave the country, but are stopped by Saito. Saito wants them to perform an inception on his rival's son. He wants him to plant the idea of forfeiting his father's empire in order to make Saito's company the #1 energy supplier. Cobb believes that it is possible but Arthur thinks it is some BS. They decide not to do the job until Saito tells Cobb that he could arrange for him to see his children in America who he hasn't seen for some time. Saito tells him if he doesn't do it, he will end up as an old man, filled with regret, waiting to die alone. Cobb agrees and starts to assemble his team. Cobb flies to Paris in search of a new architect where he meets with his old friend Professor Miles, who introduces him to his best student, Ariadne. Ariadne proves to be bright when she solves Cobb's puzzle on her third try. Cobb later walks with Ariadne through the dream world to explain to her how to be a dream architect, which Ariadne quickly learns. In the dream, they are suddenly overrun by Cobb's subconscious and Maul stabs Ariadne, causing her to wake up. After they wake up, Arthur explains to Ariadne that she will need a totem, which is a small object that is unique to its person, that lets the user know whether or not they are still in a dream. Enraged, Ariadne storms out. Later, Cobb tells Arthur that she will be back and he needs to train her on how to build the mazes. Meanwhile, Cobb flies to Mombasa to hire another team member, Eames, a master thief and dream forger. After their conversation, Cobb is chased through the streets by a bunch of armed men. When he is about to get caught, Saito smacks the armed guy with the door of his car and gets him to safety. While this is happening, Arthur reveals to Ariadne that Maul is Cobb's wife. And what you see of her in the dream is just a projection of Cobb's subconscious. Cobb then meets with Yusuf, who is a chemist who specializes in sedative compounds. Cobb needs someone to tailor specific sedatives that will allow dreamers to reach the third level. After a little convincing and testing of the product, Yusuf agrees to be a part of the team. Saito explains to Cobb and Eames that he is the last company standing in the way of his competitor's company, which is an energy conglomerate that is soon to gain total energy dominance. He needs the son of the company to choose to break apart his father's empire in order to give Saito the upper hand. The scene then cuts to Robert Fisher, the son of the rival company, at the bed of his father Maurice Fisher, the owner of the energy conglomerate. The team begins planning out their mission and figuring out how they are going to manage a 3-level dreamscape. They need a lot of time to perform the inception, so Saito recommends that they make their attempt during the flight between Sydney to Los Angeles, which the sun makes every 2 weeks. In order to foolproof their operation, Saito ends up buying out the entire airline to make sure that their mission goes as planned. On the plane, they begin their mission by knocking Robert out with a sedative. Once everything was in place, they entered into the first dream level. The team enters the first level of Fisher's dream, which is a rainy city street. Eames and Saito pretend to be a team of kidnappers working for Fisher's competitors, while Ariadne and Cobb work to create a distraction and manipulate Fisher's subconscious. Everything is going according to plan until they start receiving fire from his subconscious, which has been trained to defend against such intrusions. The team scrambles to evade the armed forces and hole up in a warehouse with Saito getting shot in the process. In the warehouse, they begin to interrogate Fisher and use Eames, disguised as his Uncle Browning, to get information out of him. Meanwhile, the team is defending from armed insurgents. It is here where Cobb explains his story to Ariadne, in which he and Mal used to experiment with the dream world until one day, Mal woke up and felt off. She was convinced with the idea that the world they were in was a dream and they had to kill themselves to wake up. Inevitably she took her own life since she believed that she was still dreaming, and Cobb blames himself every day. Cobb cannot visit the States to see his children because the authorities think that he killed his wife. Running out of time, the team proceeds to the next level of the dream from within the van, driven by Yusuf. The team then enters the second level of the dream, which takes place in a hotel. Cobb approaches Fisher as a man named Mr. Charles, who is a persona that the team has used in the past to gain the dreamer's trust. The downside is that you must tell the person that they are dreaming, which could compromise the mission. After a little convincing, Cobb escorts Fisher out of the bar and rushes him into a bathroom where he takes down two of Fisher's subconscious bodyguards. While this is happening, Arthur is seen placing explosives on the ceiling, preparing for the next level of the dream. He is setting up the kick function that will bring them back from the deeper dream state. Cobb brings Fisher up to the room with the rest of his team in order to prepare for the next level. While they are talking, Browning comes into the room and explains to Fisher that his father wants him to take on his empire since he thought he wasn't capable of doing anything on his own. But Browning believes that Fisher is capable, and shouldn't listen to his father. Cobb tells Fisher that Browning is hiding something and suggests that they go into his mind to see what he is hiding. Fisher agrees, and the plan so far has worked flawlessly, even getting Fisher to breach his own mind without him knowing. After they knock Fisher and Browning out, they get ready to enter the third and final dream level. Meanwhile, Yusuf is still evading Fisher's armed subconscious in the van, and Arthur is defending the team in the hotel. The third level of the dream takes place in a snowy mountain fortress, where the team confronts Fisher's most deeply held fears and insecurities. Eames starts by firing a flare into the air to gain the army's attention, causing them to chase him. He manages to take out a bunch of guards in an epic ski chase. At this time, Yusuf begins to play the music in the headphones, signaling the kick is coming, causing the team to hurry. At the top level, Yusuf is 10 seconds before the kick, Arthur at the second level has 3 minutes, and in the third level, the rest of the team has 16 minutes to complete the mission before they need to evacuate. The scene then cuts to Yusuf, who drives the van off the bridge and starts the first kick. After this, Arthur begins tying the bodies together with a wire to keep everyone in place for the kick on the second level. On the third level, Fisher and Saito enter the compound and are close to reaching the vault. However, right before Fisher can enter the vault, he is stopped by Mal. Cobb sees this and hesitates to shoot, which gets Fisher shot. The team is about to give up when Ariadne suggests that they try and go into his subconscious one level deeper in order to find him and bring him back. Cobb agrees, and they go under for the fourth level of the dream, which is a state of limbo. In the background we can see crumbling buildings for a mile. It looks like someone had too much free time in creative mode. Cobb and Ariadne start to explore the state of limbo that Cobb and Mal have built over the years. Cobb knows that Mal will have Fisher in the limbo world since she wants Cobb to come back to her. Back on the second level, Arthur is preparing the elevator to perform the kick they need. Since they missed the first kick, Arthur had to get creative. On the third level, Eames prepares the defibrillator for Fisher's kick and Saito tells him that he would like to go out on his own terms. Eames has to place more charges, so he hands Saito a gun and a grenade to protect Fisher, and says don't be silly. Eames proceeds to take out even more guards by himself while learning some style points in the process. We then see Cobb and Ariadne entering a projection of his house in order to talk to Mal. Cobb has a much-needed conversation with Mal, explaining to her the guilt that he has felt since he is truly the reason why she died. The idea that caused Mal to question her reality came from Cobb. The reason that Cobb knew Inception was possible was because he had already done it before, to his wife. Cobb ends up making a deal with Mal, saying that if he stays with her, then he will let Fisher go, to which she agrees. After Ariadne rescues Fisher, Cobb tells Mal how he truly feels about her and is finally able to break away from her grasp on his life. Mal is enraged by this and stabs Cobb, which makes Ariadne shoot her. Ariadne doesn't want to leave with Cobb, but he insists that she go. She then kicks Fisher off the building, causing him to wake up on the third level. Ariadne tells Cobb to find Saito and come back to reality. She then jumps off the building, waking her up on the third level as well. Fisher is then able to enter the vault and reveal the secret that he has been after. Fisher's father tells him that he was disappointed in him not because he didn't think he was capable, but because he wanted to take over his company. Fisher's projection of his father is telling him that he should make his own path, which means that the Inception has worked. Simultaneously, Every level starts to kick and each team member starts waking up on the previous dream levels, ending it off with the van hitting the water at the first level. We then see a scene where Fisher is talking to Eames disguised as Browning about how his father wanted him to be his own man and not rely on the company, which is what he wants to do. Meanwhile, the rest team is now awake on the first level of the dream beside Saito and Cobb, who are still stuck in limbo. The movie then cuts back to the scene from the beginning of the movie, where Cobb is seen waking up on the same beach, then sitting in front of an elderly Saito. The movie comes full circle when Saito tells Cobb that he is now an old man, filled with regret, waiting to die alone, which is exactly what he told Cobb earlier in the movie. Cobb believes that he is here to remind Saito that the world he is in is not real. But Saito knows that it is to honor their arrangement, which allows Cobb to see his children in the States. After this, the whole team wakes up on the plane landing in Los Angeles, with all of the team smiling with achievement. Upon waking up, Saito immediately honors their agreement and sends a text, allowing for Cobb to pass through immigration with ease. Cobb is picked up from the airport by Professor Miles, who takes him to his actual home. When he gets home, he spins his totem on the table to make sure that he isn't dreaming. In the end, Cobb finally gets to see his children. The movie ends while it pans over to the spinning totem on the table that never seemed to stop. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you would like to see more. Stay safe and take care.